Well, hello everyone. Like a happy New Year, and you talk about right here of talk about for Sun Calendars Day, and this right here will be an example of like sort of a graphic design work I want to put together right here, and I have here these three different designs right here. You see right here, this right here that shows like for like the sun, for Sun Calendars Day. You have right here for 10 a.m. right here. And this will be like a holiday that I came up with of talking about the for a certain day you know from from for January that represents from whenever the sun rises, and I guess if you want to kind of call it that, to where Sun Calendars Day, to where that from the beginning of the new year, and then by the time the sun rises, and we all know that day by day that whenever the sun comes up, that what does that basically mean necessarily? That it doesn't really mean a morning time, but that's like a holiday that I picked for that time of the year. And in case if somebody asks me that yeah, that how come maybe that how come some calendars day does not come maybe in early March, and during the early morning hours, that especially at the first of the month, that how come that there is no day called Sun Calendars Day, to where that by each by every other morning or so, right around like yeah, Sun Calendars Day. It basically means is that by the time that the sun rise, that if anything by the special possibility. And so I know that that's a day that I came up with, but I was also thinking too that does it really come by the end of January, or does it come at the beginning of January? And if we've done the calculations before, and you would think that if a day like this were to actually exist, and you would think that if anything, it would be at the beginning of the month, right after the New Year on New Year's Day, then it would also be an example of like for Sun Calendars Day, a day that marks us to where that whenever the sun comes out, after the rain and then after the snow or something like that, at least by 10 a.m. That there will be snow, or at least by 10 a.m. that there will be sunshine. By 10 a.m. there will be sunshine. But I have right here are some of these graphic designing source of work right here, and I have right here stars in space. So really though, that why would I want to use any of my graphic designing work just to represent for Sun Calendars Day? Have here for perfect and storm. So I know that if we're going to be looking at the sun at the time you want, to where anywhere in this photograph that you're going to maybe see, to where there's going to be a storm approaching. And I know that most of the time, though, that if you're going to be looking at the sun, that so I say, yeah, well, unless if you're a farmer or maybe a gardener, then maybe that you would not really be paying attention to too much of the sun. And so I'll go and zoom in just a little bit right here, but you see right here is the sun right here, and Sun Calendars Day. What does that basically mean? And so I know somebody that might ask me that exactly what is that supposed to be and what does that mean? It basically means is a certain time. It's a day to where Mars, whenever the sun comes out, and that basically means I'm like, yeah, for sunshine, for bright, and something like that. You would think that yeah, Sun Calendars Day, if anything, that would be a day that comes right on New Year's. So I know that that's a holiday that I picked, and in case if somebody were asked me that Sun Calendars Day, usually it means by sunrise, between the hours of maybe 7 and maybe 10, 11 a.m. That's supposed to mark what you call that special moment, and I really don't know if it's in the Bible or not, but still that mark for Sun Calendars Day, whenever you're going to be looking at the sun, that necessarily are you really looking for anything such as by what direction, if that's coming, if the sun's coming in maybe from the east, the southeast or wherever direction that you're going to be taking the photograph, and then knowing about what time it is. So when we're going to be looking at the sun like this, are can you really tell what time it is whenever you're going to be looking at the sun within a certain range, like certain angle or so? Like, really, can you really tell what time it is? But still, this is not the, they can say this, that, this one right here, I guess, will be example of, maybe for if the afternoon sun, like not really the sunset or the sunrise, but like the early morning sunrise would have like a pinkish yellow type look, but still that looking at this right here and just the way we think about it, that looking at these designs right here, that I was not even looking at the sun when I was working on this, but it was mainly testing the graphic designing tools. But I use this right here mainly just to show right here because whenever I was looking at this, I really don't know if this is based on my own opinion. But the way I look at this right here, it looks just a little bit like a pattern of the sun right here. You have right here is the storm is for a circle right there. It's like if that right there is the sun, and you have right here for perfect. So I know that this was a practice like design right here you use for the graphic design skills. But whenever I'm looking at this right here, that is somebody were asked me that like just like a sunflower, sunflower though that looking at that and then looking at this right here, that how a sunflower got its name from. It's like the petals and then as well as anything about what's called the rings or anything like that, or maybe that anything about the sun angles. But still by 10 a.m. that like the sun were to be shining, coming out nice and bright, and then if you want to kind of call that, like say a sun calendar's day, source of holiday, but let's just say that if a holiday like that were maybe to come about maybe every 5 years, maybe every 5 years you're going to maybe celebrate a sun calendar's day, in January, just to mark us, like say maybe if it was what you call it about every 5 years, and that's around the time that a lot of the flowers in the garden are going to be sprouting and all that, anything like that. But still, I mainly use this day right here to mark like for a holiday, just a mark for January. And I know that quite a few holidays, around that don't come until later on in February and March, like Easter and all those holidays. But still, other than Martin Luther King Day, that yeah, Sun Calendar's Day, if there's a day that marks, for Sun Calendar's Day. And so like I say, if you're going to come up with a holiday, you want to know too that in case if somebody were asked, is that really though, how come that's not in the calendar? But still, if we were to give like a holiday that talked about maybe time though, I say, yeah, time though, that if there was a holiday that marked for like, for 10 a.m., 10 a.m., I guess for military time will be like, 1000 or something like that. But still, if we were to do the math right here and want to know just a little bit too, to where that, 10 a.m. Times, maybe the 1500 or so, p.m. on the West Coast or something like that. So yeah, and I know, other than like maybe any other sorts of Photoshop work and maybe illustration work that I might see later on, as to where you're going to go ahead and include the time, with it, like anything about autographs or like anything related to about that you're able to tell what the weather is going to look like maybe within about maybe 65 days later on, on the calendar year, within 30 days or so from now, that you're able to tell about exactly about what the weather is going to look like, and if you're going to go ahead and maybe include it in the calendar, to where that this is exactly about what the weather is going to look like, especially on that spring, the first day of spring and all that. But anyway, but I want to show everybody here that these designs right here, that stars in space, yeah, that what stars in space can you see first before the sun rises? And I guess you say that, yeah, before the sun comes up right around 7 or 8 a.m., that it's possible that there's going to be a star in space that you'll see and want to know. I'm like, yeah, about what direction is it going to be orbiting, and anything say the stars though. And so the reason, and I know that in case if somebody were to ask me that about Photoshop, but still, I know that like the star tool, but still, I know that I could probably get that too. But anyway, yeah, stars and all, like yeah, the shape right here. Go ahead, yeah, I got that the star right there. Use the star, but anyway, but I as I say, use a star right there. And you're likely wondering too that, okay, if you use the star right there, and want to know that if there's a particular star that you see during the day, during the night. Actually, during the night. But anyway, you say the stars that you see during the day would really be the sun, right? But at the time, you warn too that certain stars that you do see during the nighttime. But anyway, I just thought maybe see if that like yeah, okay, try that tool again and see if it'll work. But besides that, and try that tool again. But I'll go ahead and see here. Change the color right there to a white. But anyway, stars that you see during the day, and half the time you were too that okay, are you gonna maybe mark that for like maybe for the stars of the universe day or something? Yeah, something to mark for like anything about about the universe. Does our galaxy, does the universe have a birthday? And you warn too that if it does, it must be billions of years old. But really though, that if the universe, if the galaxy had a birthday, and you warn too half the time, does the sun have a birthday? And does anything about space? Do they have a birthday necessarily? And if they do, that if anything, it's millions of years old. But still, though, that light. I'm like, anything about light years old, whatever. But anyway, that's something I think about. It's like stars in space. That's like a little design I came up with. So whenever I'm going to be looking at photographs, so that sometimes it seems like that you see this photograph right here. That whenever you're going to be looking up at the sun or looking up in the clouds or anywhere like that, and want to know that exactly about what day of the year that's going to mark to where a certain day that whenever the sun comes out, and maybe if it changes different colors, and maybe if you're able to view it, the sun within certain direction, and just different angles. But you say mark for Sun Calendars Day. But anyway, Happy New Year, everyone, and talk about for Sun Calendar Day today for 10 a.m. And I know that a lot of places would say that if anything, probably by 8 a.m. or maybe 7 a.m. that they say whenever the sun comes out. But still, you want to that Sun Calendars Day. It's a mark for the beginning of a for the new year, and want to know just a little bit too to where that about really how warm is it really going to get on New Year's. Like I say that that if you're going to be living in certain areas where it's going to be real cold, but usually that whenever you're looking at the sun like that you would think that maybe it would be a little bit warmer, but still between warm and cold temperatures though, that sometimes it's like, see, there's something about the 10 a.m. That you're like wondering, well, what about 10 a.m.? Like, well, yeah, is that around the time that the flowers are going to be blooming, or maybe the sun's out, or maybe a child is born, or maybe a new source of, that marks, for between time for whenever couples meet. It could be a number of things, but really though, for graphic designing though, and I mainly want to talk about this right here. I talk about for perfect though. And so if we're like going to where that you take a photograph of the sun and want to know really about what is what's called the perfect choice, perfect storm. But still, for perfect right here, and you have right here is the sun for Sun Calendars Day, and I'll say for stars in space. But anyway, thanks for watching everyone, and Happy New Year, and have a great night.